I'm in this weird window at HBO where they read these scripts and they say, okay, do this. And I say yes, and I go back and I do them, but there's a little part of me thinking, are they, were they really thinking about what they just did? And I think they are in some respects. I'm part of a brand that, it's a wide brand, and I'm some weird little politicized PBS part of it.
How hard is it to make something like this now, having done The Wire, having done TREME, having done Generation Kill, here a miniseries about
They're all
urban
hard.
development?
They're all hard in their way. I think the team I work with, I think we're getting better at it. I think our level of execution on the last few projects is stronger each time out.
Time to wash us away, son.
You learn what works, you learn what doesn't. This one was a little bit astonishing because, it's a 6-part miniseries about race and politics and urban planning. And, think about the sentence I just said. That's not exactly, appointment television.
You started working on this 15 years ago. How much of recent events sort of influenced how the final script came together?
When we finished the last significant draft of the scripts, it was before Ferguson, before Baltimore, before Charleston. It was not before any number of other stories that highlight our unique American pathology when it comes to race and class. I mean, this stuff's ongoing. If we'd have made it 2 years ago, it wouldn't have been Ferguson, it wouldn't have been, but somewhere there would have been a dynamic that would have raised the same questions, because this is the perennial fight. We've grown into our adolescence when it comes to racial issues. I think as a country, most of us now know you can't sling around the racial epithets. That's not, those things won't play. So we have a vernacular that allows us to play the same games. But now it's all about personal freedom and liberty and my property values and not in my backyardism. And, but what it really comes down to is fear.
I know that in light of the riots in Baltimore, people were looking to you to respond to them. You find yourself now in a position where people want to hear what you have to say.
Or not.
Or not, I suppose.
Or not.
Yeah. Do you embrace that? What's it like to have that
I don't
pressure?
know. I don't think I even think in terms of embracing it. I live in Baltimore. That's where I live. And that night, I was worried for people who were very close, who are friends of mine who lived very close to the areas that were on fire. My city's still recovering from 1968. We just stopped losing population a few years ago. And to hear a lot of people in the wake of what happened in Baltimore talking about the validity of not of the protest, but of the riot, that was very disturbing to me, because, come to Baltimore and say that. It's a very cynical thing to say when in fact we live there and the fragility of the city is such as it is. Our recovery is not assured in any sense.
You sat down with the president, talked about some of these issues with him. Curious just how easy it is to be on the platform that you're on, having an audience like that, being able to address some of these issues.
It wasn't easy that day. I mean, you look up, we were about this far apart, and you look up and you're in the middle of a sentence, and there's the President of the freaking United States. It's like, there's a little moment of where was I?
I'm a huge fan of The Wire. I think it's one of the greatest, not just television shows, but pieces of art in the last couple of decades.
The opportunity to do it lent itself to advancing probably the most seminal thing that I covered as a reporter and that I've written about in television, which is ending the drug war and ending this level of incarceration.
Curious the degree to which you think about the future of television and your place in it. Are you someone who watches it at all avidly or takes interest in where things might be headed?
I have to invoke the image of the wandering Jew. Always have one bag packed, because you never know when it's going to go south on you. That's from my heritage, sort of a post-pogrom sensibility. But at some point, I expect somebody to come to me and say, we've looked at your ratings, and we've let you go a long time, but you haven't had a hit, kid, and.
You still feel that way?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've been at HBO 17 years, and I'm going to work on some pilots, and maybe one of them will get picked up, but I'm never quite believing